All right. So, guys, welcome. So, this is part two of reflections. And the last session I did with you guys, I'm just going to make this full screen. Give me one sec. Gallery view, that's what I need. So I can see you all. Okay, so the last session I did with you guys, I pretty much, didn't hold any of it back. Mainly because I just wanted you to. I didn't want to dick around, if you like. I just wanted to present it to you guys and see what you ponder from what was being presented. Normally, I would present something, pose a question, or leave a gap in the presentation to allow you to go and ponder and see how that fits in. So the only gap that I left for you in the last session was for you to find the similarities or the connections with the manifestation that we spoke about a few months back and the different phases of manifestation, or stages, stage 1, stage 2, or stage 3 of manifestation, and how that connects with stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 of reflections. So I might just start with that. I'm going to open up mainly at the beginning of this call with you guys rather than the end. So we're going to turn it upside down today because I want to see what your pondering has been. So there was that. So I left that for you guys to ponder. So you went back to the notes that I provided for you in manifestation, and where I described stage 1 of manifestation, stage 2, and stage 3. And then on the call last week, I described to you stage 1, 2, and 3 of reflections. What did you find in that? Okay. Was there any similarities? Was there any connections? Was there anything to talk about? So that's number one. And yeah, so the purpose of last week's call was to present everything to you, put it on the table, don't hold anything back, and then see how your pondering goes around that. Because I talked about the toppling that's got to take place. Like you feel like your mind's almost toppled. I could see some of your heads spinning at the end of that last week's call. So, which is part of, I gave you the aerobatic analogy. When we fly aerobatic, our gyroscopic instruments will topple sometimes, and it's after doing so many spins, they topple. So it was a perfect analogy for me anyway. Maybe Harold too here might understand. So your mind is like a gyroscopic instrument. We need it to topple. So how'd you guys go with the toppling? So tell me, what did you get from last week's call? Look, like I said, I presented it all to you, right? Now I want to know how it landed for you, right? What did you ponder on? And it's perfect that this call today is not too far away from last week's call. All right. What did you ponder on? What was your pondering about? All right. Tell me that. I want to hear from you guys, and then I'm going to wrap up the topic of reflections with my final thoughts on it. So just put your hand up when you're ready to share anything, and I'll get you to unmute yourself. Did anyone ponder on this topic? Yeah? Okay, so you probably have something worthwhile sharing.
I can share a little bit about my process.
Please.
I don't think I got very far in terms of the comparison between the two things you ask us to ponder. I think where I'm getting stuck though is in kind of when I start to think about these topics, I also then get stuck with, well, what happens if I am able to, see the one in another, seeing myself, starting with seeing myself in another, being able to recognize the reflection and then seeing the other as the one, or, the one moving the other person. And then I have this question that comes up about, well, does that mean, like, let's just take a pedophile or tool, either one, and just just think about, okay, well, what if I kind of can see that the role that they play, the role that a pedophile plays, and it's not something. I mean, I'm glad I don't have that role, but then I wonder, like, does that mean if you see the one another, do you go camping with the pedophile and your children, or is that a completely separate issue?
That's a good question. So, no, you don't go camping with them. Unless you felt moved to go camping with them. But usually, in generally speaking, like attracts like. You usually attract people and hang out with people with similar wavelength in their roles and understanding and etc. There is a deeper understanding of this. It's one of the questions I think I may have left for you to ponder on, and tell me if I didn't, but it was, why are they playing that role?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a key point. That's the one thing I didn't answer, right? Because I want you to ponder on that, right? Why? I mean, you've gone to the extreme case of this person's a pedophile, right? Why are they playing the role, right? Last week I talked about Fanny's dog that was coming in, giving her affection and licking her face, etc. Why is the dog playing that? It's in complete opposite, but the dog is playing a role there, right?
But the pedophile will say that they're playing a role to get love too, because I saw on Oprah where she went and interviewed 3 convicted pedophiles, and they see what they do as love too.
I understand, but see, at that level, you're still seeing the drop, and that is the drop's answer. The
Okay.
drop is doing, right? Remember, I said to you, the drop is manipulating, or if you like, I think last week's comment was the indirect reflection, which is your disowned parts, is playing a role to manipulate or to be, and I use the word manipulate because you're either manipulating or manifesting. Maybe we'll talk about that later on in this call. But you're manipulating by being loving in order to receive love, right? And how you are being loving is that, and there's so many different versions. But the point is, all of that is agenda driven. It is all driven by the drop. So when you're looking at the role that is being played, you're looking at the role of the drop. You're not looking at, and that's why I said yes last time. This is a big. There's not much to be said about this topic, but it's a huge leap in this particular topic. It's very simple, but the leap, like for the mind to topple, is huge. It's almost like you need to do a backflip in your own head to grasp what I'm saying, because you're looking at the role of the drop versus the role of the one. Now, the role of the drop is to be loving in order to be loved, which is, if you go back to ego, that's what the ego is doing. It is looking for love. And I always say in the WTF, we're looking for love in all the wrong places. It is looking for love, right? And for some people, love is control. Okay? Right? So love comes in, love that is agenda driven comes in so many different forms, right? It is looking to be loving, whether that's to be in control, whether that is to do the loving thing, what they believe is the loving thing, and what they believe is the loving thing is completely different to what another person believes is the loving thing. And there's an infinite version of what the loving thing is. But the point, the similarity here, the common thread here is they are looking to be loving in order to be loved.
Love.
That is the common thread, right?
Yeah.
And yes, at the OMG level of reflection, you're looking at the role the drop is playing. Okay? And then we talk about, well, and what that role is, or what is being reflected, is not what they do, rather it is how you feel about what they do. That's your reflection. Again, that's your reflection of the drop. But that's where we start with this work. We start with you as a drop, and then you see another drop, and you're rediscovering and learning and uncovering more about yourself as the drop. What I left with you last session, which is still going to probably take a while to actually land, is I'm saying, I need you now to be the one and see the role of yourself as the one. Remember, I'll come to you in a sec, Jamie. We talked about Rumi's quote, and this is probably the biggest clue that I left with you. Rumi's quote is, you're not a drop in the ocean, rather you are the entire ocean in the drop. And what I left with you guys is, we must see the ocean in the drop rather than look for the drop in the ocean. This task, this topple that needs to take place, you're now no longer looking at the drop, right, and looking for your reflection of you as the drop. You must now see the ocean in the drop.
Is the purpose of seeing the ocean in the drop still to be focused on how it makes us feel?
Not necessarily. Remember, in WTF, I say that, I talk about that, people around us, the world, that you must realize that there's a puppet in front of you, right? And you see the puppet move, and then the puppet moving will cause you to feel different things, right? Which is the reflection of you as a puppet, right? So, but one of the most powerful things that you can accomplish is, if you move the curtain aside, if you move the puppet aside, if you remove the costume, as I talk about, you will see the hand that moves the puppet. The purpose of seeing the hand that moves the puppet is for you to realize it's your hand.
It's your hand as the one.
That's right.
Okay.
So the purpose of seeing the real role, right? The purpose of seeing what the role is for you to see who's playing the role.
But couldn't you see that with just really, really nice people? Why does why does the one choose to move through the, the pedophile? Why is that necessary for us?
Because last week I left you with something. I left you with a little clue.
Okay.
I'm just going to go back to my notes and see what I left you with.
I will.
I've got it here. Okay. Just remind me of your question, because I'm looking at all these notes now, and
I guess I'm just saying, why does the one choose to move through the pedophile? Why is
right.
that?
Yes, right. Okay, so now I know what I'm looking for.
Is it to show us a part of ourselves, like the disco ball, or?
Amir, can I say something?
Just one moment. Let me just, here it is. Okay. The roles of the disowned part is to manipulate by being loving in order to be loved or even hated.
Even hated.
Okay. Why? This keeps the parts of your disowned, this keeps the parts disowned as you continue to love. Now, when I say love, I'm talking about the love that's need. So as you continue to love in like need, fear or hate the disowned parts. In the beginning, the one infinite energy manifested itself into billions of parts. Each part began to believe it is separate from who it really is by creating what's called judgment. Okay? Now, you no longer know who you really are because you see another part of yourself as a part that you need, as a part that you fear, as a part that you hate. So the role of the one, right, for you to keep you separate and perceive that you are separate, is for you to see each drop or each light of the disco ball playing a role that requires you to need it, that requires you to fear it, or that requires you to hate it. Because when you are needing it, fearing it, and hating it, your attention is on it and not on the truth.
So the answer to my question is the separation is what
Sure.
caused.
Sure. And the answer to my question, why does it play this role? Why are these roles being played? Is because your attention goes on the role. Your attention goes on, I hate this person. I need this person, right? I fear this person. And you go into the role of manipulation, and you're trying to manipulate yourself to be safe from what you fear. You're trying to manipulate what you need, and you're trying to manipulate. What was the other one? What you need, fear, and hate. Okay? Your attention is on that. So the moment your attention is on that, and then you could, when your attention is on, I'm afraid of this person, or your attention is on, I need this person, or your attention is on, I hate this person, which is all disowned parts, right? When your attention is on that, you don't, and the curtain is closed. The only role that you can see is like, well, this person's a pedophile. Well, this person is, they're manipulating to be loved, right? Mm-hmm. but you're seeing the drops roll.
Okay, I really, really see that.
Okay, good.
So it's really about, yeah, I totally see what you said about manipulating to try to keep yourself safe. That really makes a lot of sense to me. And when you're doing that, then you're not manifesting as as the one, right?
No, you're not. You're just
Because
putting.
you said you're either manipulating or manifesting.
Do you
So,
remember? Do you remember Tool
well, yeah, of
at the
course.
retreat? Okay.
Yes.
She said something very beautiful.
Mm.
She said, I can't remember the exact words, but she said, you're either manipulating or manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, which one do you think you're doing? Right?
I remember that conversation. Right?
Yeah. Bang on. Right?
Yeah, but she was using that as a manipulation. That's not too bang on.
Okay.
She was using your own words to manipulate everyone.
Who was doing that?
Okay, she is the one. That's fine. She's the one. I mean, I get it that she's still the one. I don't doubt that. I never have doubted that. I understand the role that she played and how important it was for all of us.
The role of the drop or the role of the one?
Both.
So what was the role of the one?
Let's see if I can articulate it.
Well, let me make it very clear for you. You don't need to sidetrack.
Okay.
To get you to either hate her, to need her, or to fear her.
Right.
That's it.
That's the role of the one in working through her.
Yeah.
Okay. So she was very successful then.
Yes, the one was very successful. Now here's the thing. Because if you're either hating her, you're needing her, there's other people in the circle or in your life that you feel like you need. And they play a role to continue to show you. Now, when I say they, not they as the drop. The one is playing the role to show you that you need them. But when you realize you don't need, you don't hate, and you don't fear, all right, you are free to see the hand that moves the puppet.
Ooh.
Do you really want to see this feeling that moves this body? That's what I left you with last week. Okay, the first in OMG, when I talk about reflections, we are primarily talking about the reflection of the role the drop plays. Okay,
Right.
we are primarily looking at that we are not the drop, we are the ocean. At this level, at this stage, you're now looking externally because remember, stage 3 is all about external. So now you're looking at the drop and looking for the ocean. We must see the ocean within the drop rather than the drop in the ocean. So in other words, you must see the one in the person that you see in front of you, but you cannot see them if you have a label of a judgment. They're a pedophile. They're a good person. They're a, it's my mother, it's my father, it's my baby, it's my child. I need my child. I need that love that I have, like you cannot see unless you have the ability to remove all labels. Now, OMG was all about, neutralizing. So you get to this point. Now you're at this point, you have the ability to remove the labels, right? Watch the role. Go and look into, this is your homework from here before we move on to the next subject, right? Go and look at the roles of the people around you and look at how, and again, don't look at the drop. It's not the drop. It's not Jamie. It's not Gaz. It's not my mother. It's not the government. It's not Donald Trump, whatever you want to look at, right? That is the illusion, right? The role is either to attain all of your attention by either getting you to need them because they're giving you something which you may perceive as love, right? To either fear them or to either hate them. If you can need, hate, or fear, your attention is purely on the role the drop is playing. So therefore, you cannot see any further. So thank you for your question. That was really good. Good discussion there, Carolyn. And thank you. So Johnny, did you want to say something?
Well, there was one thing that really struck me about what you said last week, aside from all of this, you know, the entire ocean and the drop, not the drop in the ocean. You said there is no drop in the ocean. That's something that, for me, is really good to ponder on.
Well, again, the topple is happening because we must see the ocean in the drop rather than looking for the drop in the ocean. You can't see the drop in the ocean because there is no drop in the ocean. From seeing it from the toppled, from seeing it from the one, there is no drop. It's all you. You cannot see the drop in the ocean. There's trillions of drops in the ocean. Why can't you see them? Because it's just the ocean. The work becomes upside down when you get to this third stage. And the third stage is about external. Even if you go back to OMG, the first 6 months of OMG is about the internal process. The second 6 months, which we're about to start shortly, the second 6 months of OMG is about the external process. And in OMG, I used to talk about, I want to show you how you can bring the internal and the external world to be one of the same. But there is this process of going through your internal process, what makes your cup full, all right? Then cleaning out the residue after you've emptied your cup. Then it's about the external process. And once you've got some power, some awareness, some presence, once you've dealt with some of your own charges, it's about the external process. Even though in OMG, the second 6 months is about the external process, it's still on a stage 1, stage 2 category, if you like. This is now what we're talking about is the stage 3. And at stage 3, you must be the one. You must be the one. And to be the one, you must see the one. If you can see the hand that moves the puppet, the 2 waves rise up. The one wave sees not another wave, but sees what? The ocean. And therefore, it looks back at itself and realizes, I'm not a wave, I am the ocean. We must see the ocean in the drop rather than looking for the drop in the ocean. Carol.
So I guess my next question is, how does, you talked about the 2 types of love. So how does the love that's associated with the one, how does that apply to the roles that people play?
When you can see the one in the drop, right? You then at a point where you choosing the role you want to play. You still play a role, right? You still play roles for other people, right? But you're choosing You're choosing. In other words, you're completely conscious and making your decisions completely uninterrupted or uninfluenced, if you like. All right. So by doing that, even though the moment you do something or say something, you'll still play roles for other people, but you're choosing, you're free to act, move this way. Okay. Where before you're playing a role that has been given to you, which is the term we always say, you were never driving the bus. The role was for you to perceive that you were driving the bus, and therefore you played this role of I'm driving the bus, but you were never in control. Okay? The bus was going this way because it was given directions to go that way. You thought you were driving the bus, but you've just been given directions. Okay? And you followed those directions. Where did the directions come from? I feel like doing this. That's why I say, you really think you decided to love that person? You really feel like you decided to love what you do? Yeah, I did. Where did you decide it from? It came to me in a feeling. Yep. It did. And that could be in a loving feeling or it could be a hatred feeling. It came. Anna.
So then at that point, when you are consciously choosing to play a role, then is it that others don't play a role for you anymore because you see the truth in what's moving them?
From my understanding of that and watching my mum, right? All you see is the roles. And
all you see is the roles?
You see the roles, but I mean, the roles are still taking place and somebody will come and do something and say something and she'll just see the roles. Like, remember the story like of Kira? Remember Kira we talked about in the retreat where you gave my mum a gift once? Like, she would only see a role, and then if she sees a role, she'll say no. If she sees that no role, it's actually complete, you know, it's the complete reflection, right? It'd be a bit different.
How is the story with Kira an example of her seeing the roles?
Because the role is trying to manipulate, and I'm not sorry, Kira, right? The role is trying to manipulate, right? And by either looking to be needed, okay? The needed could be just accepted, okay? We need to break down what needed means. We need to break down what the love is. Remember, I just told you love could, for some people, love is to be in control. That's what love is. They feel love when they're in control because they're looking for the certainty, right? Which feels familiar, but you don't understand. Your certainty comes in the uncertain, not from a certain form, right? So the role is potentially to be accepted, to be needed, right? So then you'll just see the roles that the people are playing. Now
then she just responded to the role rather than to the need.
No. So what happens if you can see the role and who plays the role, you are completely free to respond completely with how you feel. Do you feel participate in this role and go, sure, thank you, and thank you, and she feels accepted and she feels grateful, whatever, or do you feel not to accept? Well, I feel not to expect. So then you have no residue to go, well, if I don't accept, she's going to feel upset. Can you see what I'm saying? So none of that's happening. One other thing I will add here, because this is really, really important. Recently, I talked to you guys about, and I can't remember which month it was in, but I talked to you guys about the different versions of yourself. There is infinite versions of yourself right now, in this moment, in different like parallels. I don't know if I use that word, but I kind of talked about that, and some of you were like, what the fuck? Where's this going now? I get it. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. So this is time for you to now acknowledge and see this, right? There is different versions of yourself, right? If I love to be healthy, right? And I'm not saying I'm not healthy, but let's just say I love to, let's say, be more trimmer and toned up, for example, right? There is a version of me right now that is exactly what I love, right? Now, I'm talking about what you love. You can't see it if you see the reason of why you love that. Well, if I was trimmer, I would feel better about myself. Or, what are you laughing at?
It's called Jamie.
It's called Jamie. Did you hear what he said? He said it's called Jamie. Oh my God. Now, but that's not too much of a lie though, right? Because if I see Jamie and go, wow, I really like his six pack, or really, and I'm just talking something that it's very soft here, because this could be going in lots of conversations, right? But if I feel jealous, or, you know, or if I see it as a disowned part, I will have a reaction that perceives not to have that. But have you ever noticed that someone's got what you want and you feel really, truly happy for them, and like you feel a direct reflection, right? Because it's no longer disowned. That is you playing that role. Hang on a sec. I'll come to you in a second, right? There is multiple versions of you, okay? It comes to you in a feeling. If I see a part of myself that is me, I feel myself in that, okay? It could be an outcome, a result, the way a person's showing up, right? You see yourself in that person, right? It's not when it's indirect reflection, when you perceive you don't have that. When you perceive, when it shows up as a disowned part, it's not disowned. The fact that you see it means it's owned, like I talked about in OMG. But you perceive it to be disowned because you're not, it's showing up as a judgment of, that's something I don't have, but it's something that I want. No, you do have it. You do have it. That's why you see it, right? And I mean, that's a silly example I'm just giving you, and Jamie interjected there. It could be. You look at. Let me give you this example too. You look at any outcome and result you want right now, and it's okay to want an outcome and result. It's when you just make it about the outcome and result, right? This is where you lose yourself. Decide what you love to have in your life, right? Here's the thing, right? And again, it's got to be true, because if it's a disowned part that wants that, it wants that because it's looking for completion. Do you understand? The disowned part is going, well, I feel lonely. And if I had the love of my life, for example, then I would feel complete. That's not it, right? I mean, like, you feel you love to be in a relationship, for example, and there is a part of you that would love that, right? It's just that you go to this part of you that is disowning, thinking, I don't have that. And I'm alone, and if I could have a relationship, I will find completeness, right? That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about connecting to, I love to be in a relationship. That's it. You know, my mum used to say many times, you just decide that you love it. So all you're doing is you're acknowledging that you love it. We're going to manifestation here, but that's when I told you this is so close to manifestation, you might want to relook, right? I say, I love this. Now, there is a reason, like, okay, I don't want to say there is a reason, but let's just use that language for now. There is a reason you love this. I know when we're saying when you really love it, there's no reason, right? But there is a reason. And the reason is a feeling that you would like to express. There's a feeling in you that is here to be expressed, right? And through that outcome or result, you will have the opportunity to express that feeling. So the question that is left is, what is it? What feeling do I want to express through the opportunity of that outcome or result? Right? Then look for how you already own that feeling. That then becomes a direct reflection. You're seeing yourself in that outcome or result. Okay? You're seeing yourself, the whole self, not the incomplete part. If I get that, they'll be complete. You're seeing the whole self. This may be a conversation we may need to continue, right? You're seeing your whole self in that outcome result. What do you love? Just acknowledge, I love it. Not I love it because if I can have that, then everybody will accept me, I get approval, I get recognition. No. All right? But what I'm saying to you is, even though there's a part of you that feels like it's disowned, and if I can have that, I will find recognition, appreciation, approval. I'm saying the fact that you want that, there is another part of you that is the authentic part that wants that, and it wants it because he already has that. It's just creating an opportunity in an outcome and result to express what you already have. I'm going to give you my notes about that, because sometimes in my notes it's better. Where did my notes go? Here. Okay. So this is what I just talked to you about. There are infinite versions of you in every one moment. It's called your complete reflection, showing up in many infinite possibilities. You wouldn't see it if you didn't own it. So that's the point I just made to you, right? You think you're seeing it and you would like it, but what you see, you already own, all right? Ask yourself, what do I want? Ask yourself, what do I want this outcome? No, sorry, it's incorrectly written. Ask yourself, what do I want out of this outcome or from this outcome? What do you want to feel, right? This is not, you're not looking for, Jamie, don't take notes. Okay. Nobody take notes right now. You're going to miss it. I'll give you the notes, or re-listen to this. All right? Ask yourself, what do I want? What do you want to feel? So this question is not, what do I want to feel from this? It's, what do I want to feel from the opportunity to express into this outcome or result? Not, what do I want to feel from this outcome and result? The outcome and result is just a stage. It's a stage for you to perform, right? And all you're doing is performing a feeling. I'm just performing to you right now, or expressing, probably the more correct word, a feeling that resides within me, right? Your outcomes and results are an opportunity for you to express or present or give, right, the very feeling you already have. That is the difference. You are not, the drop is looking to attain something from the outcome and result, a feeling it wants to have. This is not what we're talking about. I said, ask yourself what you want from this outcome. What do you want to feel? Right? But that question is not what do you want to feel from the outcome, it's what do you want to feel, or what feeling do you want to express? What feeling do you want to share? What feeling do you want to give right, in that outcome or result. And then look for where you already own that. You need to see, and maybe that question must come first. Where do you already have that feeling, right? Give you an example. You guys know the Roosters are in the grand final. You probably saw on my Instagram. Yes, some of you are shaking your head, right? So, that is it's a special time, right? Because the Roosters are in the grand final. You guys were with me at the retreat, and the build up was happening, and we were minor premiers, and whatever, right? And now the Roosters are in the final. Last week, right? Because this is a perfect example, and again, this is not manifestation. Okay, it's just I don't know how to. This is my own process. I can only share you my own process. All right. So the Roosters played last week to get into the grand final, right? And I'm like, what is it? What is the feeling that I'm after? What does it mean to me? Okay. What is the feeling that I'm after here? What is the feeling that I'm after if they win? So what? Right? Because I noticed myself getting really into it. Like I woke up that day thinking about the game, and I took the day off, and I was like, I was really getting into it. And so then I saw myself getting really into it. I said, well, what's the feeling here? Like, if the Roosters win in that outcome and result, what is the feeling? And the one word that came to me is, I feel accomplished. Right? Now, this is the part where it goes deeper, and the one rather than the drop takes over, right? I feel accomplished. So the next question is, where do I already feel accomplished? Boom. Right? Now, the idea or the opportunity of the outcome or the result of the Roosters winning the game last week was purely for me to express the feeling I already have of being accomplished, rather than the feeling I would like of feeling accomplished. The first question was, what do I want from this feeling? I want to feel like it. And again, what is it? Because I was like, what do I want? Then the question was, well, what does it feel like to win? Because we've won before, but what does it feel like to win this game this weekend? Like, we were playing our biggest rivals. Like, it's a huge game, and it was just, that's the one word that came to me. It was like, I feel accomplished, right? So then the question was, well, where do I already feel accomplished? And it was there. And this is why you've got to be far deeper in this work. You give this to someone who's just doing OMG, they'll go, well, I don't feel accomplished, right? But to me, immediately, there is, in who I am and in something that I do in my life, I feel very accomplished, right? So then, therefore, I didn't need this outcome or result to feel accomplished. This outcome and result became a stage for me. It became an opportunity for me to express the feeling of feeling accomplished. Does that make sense? It was hard to get out. Okay. Really good. But I wanted to just, that was the most recent thing. I'm sorry to use a football analogy, but you're probably thinking, well, but that you can use that in so many different ways, right? But the most important thing is for you to realize you're not looking to gain a feeling from the outcome. You're looking to express the feeling you already have in the outcome or result. Now you can go put your attention on the outcome results. With that mindset, you can now but before then, you're not ready to put your attention on the outcome result. Mm-hmm. Now, Jack has had a question, then Anna.
I was just, when you were talking then, not the retreat that we just went to, but the previous retreat, I don't know if you remember, we were sitting in the circle and Kat was talking about wanting to be in a relationship, and you started to ask her what it was that she wanted to give in that relationship and what it was that she had to give and to become one with that she already had it to give. And when you were talking then, that's sort of, I don't know, I went back to that and I remember that. And that is that what we're talking about? It's where we already have it to give and we're just staging, etc., the outcome or result to show us that as the drop.
In that example, she was talking about that she wants to be in a relationship. Why do you want to be in a relationship? Because I feel this, this, and that. And she was looking at what she wants from the relationship. By getting her to shift her mind and look at what she wants to give in the relationship, right? It changed your mindset, right? Because the power of manifestation is in the giving process, not in the receiving. But the moment that you notice that you have that to give, you are receiving that in the same moment of giving that.
Giving it to yourself.
Yeah, it was more of a manifestation conversation, but this is how this is so linked with this. Like, if you look at stage 3 of manifestation and stage 3 of reflection, it's the same thing, right? But now you're understanding it from a reflection point of view. Where before in the manifestation, you might have only been looking at it from the drop still. And that's why so many people found it so difficult to understand or grasp the stage 3 of manifestation, which was called transformation. Because in transformation, you must see the infinite. You must see the energy, okay? And everyone's like, but that's where everyone got caught. And I was like, all right, but when we talk about reflections, this will become more clearer. And that's what today has been. Because now you must see the ocean in the drop rather than looking at the drop in the ocean.
And the other thing I wanted to ask
Only one question. Okay, I'm joking.
It's such a meaning to me. Is we were talking, and you just touched on it before you went to outcomes and results, is that there's versions of ourselves. And on the last call we were talking about, we have every disease or every health or everything is whole in us. We're just choosing to express it.
You're being given the role to express different parts of it. Some of it's been expressed through you. Some of it's being expressed through others. Remember how many times I've said to you when I've had a feeling that came up for me, for example, was to speak, right? And I was like, I can't speak about this. I'm not ready. People can't understand this. People are not ready for this. They'll think I'm a tool. They'll think I'm a crazy person, right? And then when the first feeling of I can't do this, the feeling said it will come through someone else. Because if I'm not going to accept and express this, right? I mean, the fact that I thought I had a choice in the matter is interesting. So like, I can't do this. But the thing is, it must come out. And if it doesn't come out through me, it will come out through someone else. And to me, it was like, this is for me to present. This is for me to share. So everyone has different roles to express different parts. So, but in this example we were talking about, ultimately the greatest role is for you to see the drop. The greatest role is for you to, be misguided. You're being misguided to see the drop, so the whole reality works. Because if you came here as an infinite being, right? If the one manifested, just mute yourself for a sec. If the one manifested itself into billions of parts, if that billion of part, it has to now build or redevelop or reopen its mind to the capacity of infinite before it can become infinite. First of all, its mind must close so it sees all these different parts, and it then plays this role of needing love, which sometimes we call loving in this reality, needing and fearing and hating, right? But through the whole process, you are emptying your cup to be able to be ready to see the truth, see the infinity. And at that point, You are influencing the energy. You are moving energy. You are influencing energy. Anyway. Anna, did you have sorry, did that answer your question, Jack? Yeah, we're talking about similar things. Similar. There's a connection there. We're not talking about the exact same thing. Your mind is now taking you to something we spoke about over a year ago, and you're finding a connection. That's a reference point. Your mind is developing this for you. It's preparing this to open yourself up to this. That what I was saying to Kat at that two years retreat ago is not exactly the same, but there's a connection. Just like I'm saying, there's a connection to what I'm talking about today and in manifestation transformation stage. Anna.
Well, it was along the same lines as what Jackie was saying, except I think we touched upon it in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
What do you give versus take? And I've always, it's like you give of yourself to yourself, but it sounds like when you spoke about it with what you wanted to experience in the outcome, it's with awareness versus.
So hang on a sec. You give yourself you give of yourself to yourself. So
But,
remember at the first stage of this, giving of yourself to yourself is really giving of yourself, and you're giving to yourself as the drop, right? Now bring your awareness expanded even further and give of yourself to Jamie, but you're not giving to Jamie, you're giving to yourself within Jamie.
yeah.
That's why in the WTF we're talking about infinite love is when you see yourself as the one in another. Remember that. Sorry to interrupt that, but I just wanted to highlight that.
No, yeah, okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks, Anna. I just want to check my notes. So one of the questions that I left with you guys last time is how does the one own or become one with its own parts? Well, it looks for the role it's playing. Why are you playing that role? We covered that. Yeah, we kind of covered manipulation and manifestation. You know, what is manipulation? Why do we manipulate? And we're either manipulating or manifesting. I might leave that for you guys just to ponder on that question. So I'll put it on the WhatsApp for you, but it's going to be, you know, what is manipulation? Why do we manipulate? We're either manipulating or manifesting. So why are we manipulating? Okay, so it's just a small question. All right, any other questions, comments, contributions?
Just to highlight.
Yes.
I did go back and look over and listen to some of the things in the manifestation module. And the thing that hit me there, and I'm drawing my own connection and dots here, but you know, you said that the ego, you know, I'm looking at it as the drop now, wants to manifest what it wants to take or get. And the one wants to manifest what it wants to give or express.
Yes. Yeah. Can you see the connection there? Yeah. There's so much connection in this. That's why, you know, maybe I need to write up like what I did for manifestation and write up, you know, the 3 stages. I mean, I've already written it up. I could probably just share it with you. You know, I might just share this with you, my notes. Just like you guys have got the notes that I shared, my notes on manifestation. You guys have got that. So I will share with you my notes of reflections and just put them next to each other and print them out and just see, well, what's the common thread here? That's what you're looking at. You're looking for that common thread. What is in particular, because that's what I'm working with you guys right now, is the stage 3 of it, the level 3, whatever you want to call it, phase 3. You know, it's so in manifestation, phase 3 was what I'd labeled as transformation. But just notice one common thread that you're noticing in stage 3, it's all about the external. Okay. Stage 3 of reflections, right, which is called the complete reflection, not just the direct, because the direct is I feel myself in another, right? But you're still feeling, it's a connection thing. You're feeling yourself that you feel within you as the drop in another. So that's now drawing you closer to phase 3 or the stage 3, where you are the wave is rising and you're seeing another wave, not as the wave, but as the ocean. You have the ability to see the ocean in the drop rather than the drop in the ocean. That's what's taking place in stage 3, but it's all external. It's the world outside of you. Okay, so that's one connection that I was hoping you guys saw. You know, hey, stage 3 of transformation, or stage 3 of manifestation, which is called transformation, and stage 3 of reflection, which is called what? The complete.
Complete.
Exactly, the complete. They're actually both an external thing. It's an external process. Mm. You are seeing your internal in the external. That sounds wrong, but I'll find a better way of saying that.
You know, you used to say you used to say this quite a bit. It's not to realize, this came when I was pondering about this, that it's not about what's being reflected to you. It's about realizing you are the one reflecting
into the mirror.
Yeah, and that dropped in a lot from and supporting with this heaps.
Yeah, and that was you guys can hear Jamie, yeah. That was in OMG. I talked about that. You are the one reflecting into the mirror. You're not what's being reflected. Mm. Anyway, that's this. You know, this mind-topple that's got to happen. And I'm glad, Carolyn, that we've had the discussion we've had, because you've probably asked questions that are going to be asked, you know, that many people are asking. But that discussion that I had with Carolyn is we started talking about the reflection of the drop, and we started getting deeper and deeper to actually getting to the point of going, oh, okay, we're not talking about the reflection of the drop. You're talking about the whole disco ball, the light. You know, you're looking at the reflection of the ocean, not the reflection of the drop. And the practice is for you to have the ability to see the ocean in the drop rather than the drop in the ocean, which you will never see. You will never see the drop in the ocean, because that is an illusion. That is the dream. You being a finite being is what you're doing for pretend. You being separate and playing the role of being a mother and father and husband and wife and boss and employee, and that's all just pretend. So when you look for the truth, which is looking for the ocean in the drop rather than the drop in the ocean, you realize there is no drop. The drop is just a costume. It's just pretend. So this is the third stage of this work. Welcome to phase 3 or stage 3 or whatever you want to call it. I don't really have a name for it. But Radical Love, do you have your hand up, Fanny?
Just what kind of dropped in for me during this part was that WTF, you talk about how you're here to become an infinite being in the finite world. And that's what stage 3, or phase 3, or whatever you want to call this thing, feels like to me. It's like, it's finally like stepping into being the one while still like participating as a drop. That just kind of hit me real hard during this conversation, but I thought I'd share with the class.
That's bang on. That's bang on. Thank you. You know, I've been saying it but to be honest, when I was saying that, when I first said that we're here to be an infinite being in a finite world, I was just saying what I felt needed to be said and what I felt was within me to be said, but I still didn't know what that meant. You know, a lot of the things that I said in very early days, it's only now eventuating, or it's only now, you know, I guess the stage or the opportunity or the outcome or result has only now presented itself for me to actually fully talk about it. So, you know, when the student's ready, the teachers will arrive. When the teacher's ready, the student arrive. That's what's actually taking place. It's like I've been working with this group of people for many years. It's only now that we're actually ready to talk about that. You hear me? Like when I very first started this work, I would talk about manifestation and just put it aside because it'd be like, you guys are not even ready to talk about that. Let's not even talk. I wasn't even ready to talk about that. Let's just not even focus on that. So, I mean, when I started talking about this stuff like over 10 years ago, I put it aside. Then as we, you know, got ready, and that's both you, the listener, both me, the teacher, or the person who's sharing this, as they both came closer to being ready, then the conversation was ready to be had.